Hello, this is Brett Harger for LIS 6120. The name of this presentation is When in Rome, Roving Reference and the Future of Public Library Reference Services. We're just going to briefly talk about reference in general, and then more specifically about the library I observed and the changes going on in that reference department. So reference today is still primarily focused around the reference desk. It's good and easy for staff. They're in a set location. All the materials they need are nearby, whether that's the computer to access the online databases or the print materials they may use. It's all right there. The patrons walk up to the desk, ask their questions, and, like I said, it's a quick and easy, for the most part, interaction. The library, from that desk, also the staff can do any of the extra reference services that they supply, whether that is phone reference, email reference, instant messaging, blogs, any of that sort of thing can all be conducted right there at that one desk. So it's very popular and still, like I said, used widely at many libraries. However, though, there has been quite a decline in reference questions, mostly through ready reference. Easy questions that a lot of patrons feel can be answered quicker and maybe more efficiently with Google or Wikipedia, whether it's true or not. Many patrons just aren't coming to the library to ask those certain questions anymore. But also there's a rise in the online databases. Library users are more tech savvy. These databases are more easy to use, and they're more accessible. Libraries, if they're large enough, are buying subscriptions, if not through their co-op, through the state library maybe. But these databases are becoming more available to patrons. They don't actually need to go into the library. They can do their research from home. Some other reference services are still pretty common are outreach, which is more widely used in academic situations. The library sets up a satellite location in a common area or somewhere where students gather, and they can do their reference questions there, not going to the actual library. And also roving reference, most commonly performed with a laptop on a cart, and they'll just go through the library floor, asking patrons if they need help. And with the laptop, they can provide all services that they could do if the patron walked up to the desk. At the library I observed, it's a larger library in a wealthy college town, but they are changing their reference system. They're moving away from the desk and to a roving reference system. And part of that, the reference staff and the circulation staff will be combined in working the roving reference. So at first there's a little bit of hard feelings, maybe a little bit of resentment that the reference staff's qualifications, their degree, the time they put in, wasn't being properly valued. They do see the need for this change, though, still on board. I think just at first there might have been a little bit of hard feelings. But to prepare for this, they've had to do a lot of training. Both they're using iPads, so training with the iPad itself, but also in being comfortable in this new situation, in approaching patrons, asking if they need help, determining what patrons are open and available to help, which ones aren't, that sort of thing. All this kind of stuff had to be taken into account and talked about, worked out before the system could actually go into place. So in theory, this library is going to replace its reference desk with a kiosk, with a laptop. The library staff member will be at the kiosk for the majority of their shift, so patrons can still walk up and ask their questions, just like they normally would. But at regular intervals, they will take their iPad, the staff member, and roam to the floor, go to the shelves, that sort of thing, approach patrons, be visible, and allow patrons to approach them. And just like most libraries in the state, there's a lot of budget concerns. And so this is a way to kind of increase their visibility, to show their patrons a new service and a worth, that the library is worth their tax money with this new kind of actions they're taking on. In practice, though, it's not quite up to par yet. The system is not fully implemented, so we're reserving all judgment. They're not fully there. They don't have the kiosk, so it's still being based out of their desk. Some staff members roam more than others. Some use the iPad more than others. it's kind of half there. They're still based at the desk, but some are still roaming. So they're kind of doing both right now. There are concerns with the iPad itself, still going through training issues, but also not all sites, especially not all academic sites, have mobile versions. So when you pull up the database online on the iPad, the screen is not big enough to show the site. So they have to shrink the view, and then you can't read it, or they have to constantly scroll, and it just makes it harder to see. Not through no problem or no fault of the staff or the user. It's just these online databases haven't caught up with the rise in mobile technology yet. But it does appear that this library is going the way that all libraries are going eventually. One of the sources I found for the paper had this great line. It said, "The future of reference has the letter E written all over it," saying that this is just the way. There's no way to stop it now. Reference is going to an online version. The reference department, however, has been the last to kind of embrace this new technology, and mostly because of the human element. Reference staff has to show patrons how to do these searches effectively. They have to be able to use the iPad. So there's a human element that's not there in doing circulation work online. Patrons can renew their books from home. They don't really need a lot of help doing that. But patrons are in this new online world, and if the libraries want to remain relevant, they have to meet them where they are.